Hi guys, it's Dr. Mohammad Usman and I am back with another video on the topic of principle of animation. This is a new topic and in this topic we will be talking about motion and animation principles. So let's start talking about the motion and how you can perceive any motion. So first of all, why we use motion? Motion is anything which can be used to encode any variable. Basically, it is moving one element or one variable from one location to another. It is used for direct attention and it is used to understand the system dynamics. Also, it is used for straight transition from one movement or one place to another. So motion can increase your engagement and it is used for direct attention to your visualization. So if you are talking about a static visualization, we have seen that user has to focus on different points and it does not change any variables and it is just limited to one approach. But when we are talking about our motion, we are talking about perceiving the animation in form of motion and the elements are also moving. So if we talk about a simple motion perspective or perceiving the animation and converting any element into animation, what we need 10 frames per second, 100 milliseconds for smooth motion that can be perceived by any user. So we can move any image by 10 frame per second and we can just generate the motion. Similar, like if we have a different circles moving in a circular movement, what we need to do to just move this image and copy paste them 10 different times and we can generate different frames per second for that animation and we can generate animation. Similarly, like if we are having these presentations, these are also in form of animation. If I move from one presentation to another, so that is a form of motion from one variable to another variable. But in this one we are not moving 10 frame per second, we are actually staying at a slide for a little time. So motion is the visual cue which is used for be attentive and it is stronger than color shape. So if your elements are moving in your animation or visualization, it will be giving you a direct attention and it will be more sensitive for the user to focus and it will be generating a more engagement because user will have to always focus on that image and it will be gaining more direct attention and user will be able to understand more. And it also involve different groups of elements like in form of animation and it will also perform 3D cue or like parallax motion. So talking about the motion, I have a very simple example over here and you can just see the change of state from one state to another, and I will just move this slide, then you will see how the elements or variable changes and you can see how this will end into a different perspective. So let's see how to generate simple motion. See this over here, like this you change the element from one place to another. So this is a kind of transition and this is changing the variable from one state to another. I am not moving them from 10 frame per second, so it can be just too slow and it can be just too fast. So when we are making the transition or we are making the motion, we need to show that transitions better, and we have to move the one object at a once. We don't want to move all the objects mix out and we don't want them to all of them moving in one place. So when we are talking about the animation, the important concept is the principles of animation. We have originally six principles of animation, starting from character animation to slow in, slow out, and one by one I will be talking for each of them and giving you the details about them with the examples. So let's talk about the very first one. The first one is the squash and stretch. And squash and stretch, we talk about the rigidity of the material. Like if you throw a ball into the wall and the ball squashes and then comes back to you in the same original size and same original shape. So basically this question stretch talks about if you throw any material or anything or if you are showing transition of any material from one movement to another, so the object should come back into your original position and it should maintain constant volume, and it should be a smooth fast motion similar to motion blur. It should not be like a user will be able to analyze that the thing is squashing and then stretching back to the original position. So squash and stretch works on the elements which need to be movement from the variable moving from one place to another, and it is just like a motion blur animation. The second one is the staging, and staging is just showing one item or one variable or one movement at one time. So it is just clear presentation of one idea at one time. It just highlight the important actions in your visualization or in your animation or in your transition. It just gives you the viewer's eye to the action and it just focuses on that still scene of motion, and it can be just the busy scene. So it is just motion at the clearest at one stage. So talking about the example of this one, if you are talking about a scene, a person is or a cartoon character is sitting in one stage or in one frame, then in next frame or next stage the character will move. Similar like when we are making up the cartoons, the character move from one stage to another. So in one stage it has to be static, and in the other stage the action will change. So staging is just clear presentation of one idea at one time. And related to staging, we have two things, which is anticipation and the second is the follow through. Anticipation is like showing the preparation for the action, like this cartoon is going to hit the ball, so it is just preparation for the action. It is just start of the action and what things should be done in it. Similar like when the action is completing, it is just the termination of the action, like ball is thrown and ball is hit by the bat. So it is just the follow through, and it is the it emphasizes on the termination of the action. So relating to the stages, you combine both together. In one time you will start one action, and in second stage you will complete that action, and it will complete the staging completely. So talking about in further in the animations, these was the just simple concepts. The last one is the slow in slow out. It is just the space between two transition. If you move too slow into the animation, then it will be just not that pleasing, and if you move too fast in animation, it will similarly not too pleasing. So you just have to maintain constant volume and constant transition of your animation to generate a very good transition or animation. It just depends the number of frame and the timing cut for any element moving in a transition. So combining all these together, I have a very funny example of Valley B, which I can see you over here. This is just a cartoon, and I will see that this is the entry and Valley B example. In this one, you can start from the this is the starting of the action, and this is stage 1. In second one, this is stage 2, and this is just the starting anticipation of the action. In this one, we are moving toward the exaggeration of the action, and we are moving toward like the element is moving in real space or real transition, and this is just termination of the action. So talking and dividing the entry and Valley B example into different type, we can analyze that. We can just start from the basic concept of the animation, and we just focus on different concepts, and we can just generate the animation through simple elements. So most of the time all the animations are generated through the same criteria. So how we can implement the animation? We can implement them by the presentation, animated presentation like this one. We can make the movement, we can make the movements meaningful. But one thing you should focus that you should avoid scratch and stretch and exaggeration, and you should also work on the anticipation and staging, and focusing on doing the one thing at one time. So this video was up to here. If you like my video, do visit my YouTube channel and like and subscribe to it. And the for running training certificate, the process is as follows, which you already know. So what you are waiting for?